I'm 57. You're 44.
Yeah, 44.
Like, so in the story, you know, like when you get to your middle age, when no one gets to their middle age, and there's this whole other download that happens, like, or it's as much to say that, you know, life itself is spiritual, is seeking. Like, spiritual unfoldment is the process, whether you're a seeker, spiritual seeker or not. So when you get to people, I mean, I look through this with men I know who aren't into this stuff at all. My dad, who I had a front row seat to all my life, there was a kind of like, he was seeking, you know, even though he wasn't seeking this thing that, and in a way, I know he was, of course. There's only one thing to seek, because it's the only one thing that can be found, which is the only one thing that was never lost in the first place. I get that, you know, now I get that. But the whole process of being in your middle age, and when you start to look at the watch and go, oh, okay, well, that means I'm 57, 67. My dad died at 87, so 30 years. So I think, okay, 30 years, if one should be so lucky, and all the thoughts that download in the linear timeline about what that means. It's like there's almost just in the normal 7 ages of man kind of way, there's just like a, okay, now, like, whatever, like, let's shit or get off the pot now, like, because we can kind of see the, you know, this imagined thing ain't going to last forever in the narrative of the story. Yeah. Now, of course, the gospel on tap here is that, of course, that was never the case. But those death throes need to happen, you know, like that's part of the deal here. But you can, as Christ said, die before you die. There is a possibility to digest that undigestible one for no one before the fact. But even if you don't, and even if you go nowhere near spirituality all your life, you look at people who are a little bit older, and you just like, you know, there's just something, shit's getting serious now. Like, and it might blow up into, okay, sports cars and my third divorce, and it could do whatever it's going to fucking do. But in general, there's a, okay, if it's true that I am a long-lasting independent entity moving through time, born in 1962, and by second moving toward my deathbed, even if that story were true, which we know it's not, let's say, but even if it were, that's enough, man. That's enough right there to go, okay, well, what then, you know, like what? Then, and then, so then back to the questions, like, okay, hang on, everyone out of the pool. I don't have long. What is this? What is going on here? Not even where I'll go after now, because that's good. I guess I'll find out soon enough. But what even? Where was I before? Like, what is putting the possibility of any of this here in the first place? Like, those are very pre-spiritual, potent questions, you know, and questions that every character has to ask. And the answer to every one of those questions is exactly the answer of this with the capital THIS. The carrot that everyone's looking for is no carrot. You know, the resolution to the problem that everyone's looking for is that there was no problem in the first place. All of the things that we've been talking about. That's the good news gospel that I think has been said time immemorial now through every perennial philosophy. And I mean, this isn't a new message. It's actually the only authentic, unedited message that survived from 0 to 0, in essence. You know, it's like, it's always just been the same thing. And once in a while, a little monolith gets laid down, and a Christ or a Buddha or a Muhammad or an Allah or a Krishna or a Vishnu or somebody goes, hey, do you guys know that this is all just one thing observing itself with different qualities of its own attention to itself, and you don't even exist in the first place? Whoa, like it's a rare,
Yeah. Well, Robin has on his website, this message is not new, it's ever fresh, or something like that. Or yeah,
the ever fresh message.
yeah.
The kingdom of God was within. That's ever fresh, but old, but ever fresh. The all of that stuff.
Yeah. It's the knowing it. Is that's the kind of the idea of knowing it is the lie, is it really the
Yeah.
idea?
Because as we talked about at the beginning, the knowing was the fly in the ointment to begin with. There will be no knowing, and there will be no because there is no knower, and that will resolve itself in knowing. But at that point, you won't even call it knowing. It's
Has
like
to
it's
dying to
less.
that disappointment or something.
Yeah, the stick goes into the fire enough that there's no more stick left. Like the questions die because the questioner in question has become sufficiently questioned enough to be tossed out. It's like a case that you mount in your own head, and the case gets thrown out for lack of evidence because it's all circumstantial. It's like you end up putting yourself on the witness stand and going, come on, man, just show me you then. Stand up. Will the real Frank please stand the fuck up? Like we do that in our own court of our own, with our own jury of our, we don't even need our peer. It's judge. We are judge, jury, and executioner. So any good inquiry ends up in that black hole. And that case is going to end because it never began. But it's going to end because it was thrown out as not having anything anyway to begin with.
Yeah, sorry. It's funny when you say the that stand-up thing. During that experience that I've told you about, a lot happened in that particular experience. But in that experience as well, it was okay. Can you be now? And so then you have a sensation of okay, now I'm being without, and then it's again another okay, and it's kind of presented and presented and presented, and the thing, it's like as if umpteen, like the dying on the cross thing, or the
yes, exactly,
umpteen positions to still to say, okay, are you ready yet? Okay, now I'm going to stand up and just be in total peace with everything. Okay, stand up. And can you stand up and do that then? And it's all of it is still pretending and pretending and pretending. And then, okay, I'm going to be everything and stand up. Good luck with that loop and that loop and that.
Yeah. Because those Russian dolls, as we say, are never going to end. That will be turtles all the way down. That is the infinitely receding horizon. The Etch-a-Sketch, you can keep scribbling. Well, what about if I stand up and I'm everything on the Etch-a-Sketch? But it's just going to just keep doing that. What about at what point does the mind just go, fuck it? It just goes, there's nothing I can write on that. There's no subtle way to insinuate myself back into, but what if I even, what if I even subtly know that I'm not, that I know that I'm not, but know that I am, and then the freaking thing just keeps erasing. At what point does the thing that imagined it's authoring the drawing, or more saliently, who the drawing was about, when does that just give up the ghost that it always was and go, and enjoy the ever refresh rate of this? Enjoy the fact that, look at it. It's never going to be repeated. Pre-deathbed, post-deathbed, it's always going to, something this that can't be talked about is always going to be here, but it'll never be repeated. It'll always look like something different, but it'll never depart from itself. And that's what it is. And even that will get shaken out.
And it's saying it is almost this self thing reboots itself continuously, no matter how much. Yeah. Because it gets squashed into tiny whatever, Still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's death throes, and it doesn't need much. It can rise. That phoenix, that false phoenix, can rise from it. Yeah, that's the but. It's a decimated landscape, and I have one more question. It's like, okay, what's your one last question, skeleton, ashy hand rising from the apocalypse? I just want to know if whatever. Sooner or later,
fuck yeah.
the day where no little skeletal finger reaches up from the ashes to ask that one last question is the day that the apocalypse is the paradise. And there's no, it won't be a sad day and that was the last we ever heard of him. It'll be the glory, glory, hallelujah day.
Yeah.
That was the last we ever heard of him. It'll be, I think the shot's better when I'm not in it, will become like, and lo and behold, because you were, and this is always like what we always have to go circle back to get clear about, you were never in the shot. I was never in the shot. No one's ever in the shot. So we don't have to be beside the camera or turn it away or walk away. Like we were just never there in the first place. So it's not even about I think I need to edit myself out. That's in the shot. It's pre that and post that. It's like we were already not in the shot. We weren't even written into the original screenplay. Like it's just before. It's a priori to a priori. It's just like it's just off. It's the part. I think it's one of the things I wrote to you at one point. It's like we're just going to be too late to this party.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we can't come and drink harps and Guinnesses and chips and have a party. And it's the best party in town, especially this one. I'd rather be at this pub than my pub down the street, where I go to write. And as I'm writing, I hear peripherally conversations that are the most beautiful, lovely, innocent, inane, meaningless, drivel conversations with beautiful and meaningless at the same time. And that kind of inspires me there, because I can just be the guy, the weird unemployed actor with the laptop. But this pub is like, it's a rare pub. The Black Hole pub is a rare place.
Yeah. The Black Hole talks, Black Hole pub talks. Yeah. Yeah,
and
man.
whether we end up posting this one or not, like I hope to have some more of them with you. And
yeah, I think we definitely need to.
Yeah, because there's just it's once it's like an embarrassment of riches. It's just like this is the gift that keeps on giving. This with a capital THIS. Especially when you meet a brother who is on the scent of that precious whateverness.
Yeah.
But it's just like that it's just so, I can't think of anything more. If this was my last night, if I have an aneurysm tonight and I'm never heard from again, this was what a beautiful way to go out.
That's
and I think
cool.
when every day is like that, that's the instant refresh rate. Like, why isn't every run like that, every child rearing moment like that, it should, because it is that.
Yeah.
But we continually disinvite ourselves to the best party in town. We continually disinvite ourselves to, that's the self. The self is the denial of what's actually happening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the madness, though. I mean, I'm not even going to go down why. I'm not going to even do it to my brain. But the being somebody in the world is the shelter from being everything, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my sense of. But I know it is obviously a perspective view. But it seemed like, because that it was too much. It makes sense that the predominant view is being separate in that instance.
Right.
It felt whether if the predominant view has been separate, then that's the brilliant game playing out. And then
Right.
why wouldn't you play it forever than
Yeah.
seeing the emptiness?
Right.
So,
But the thing is, yeah, exactly. It's like, but it's the game for no one, you know? It's like God looks in the mirror and asks who she is and never gets an answer, and that's who she is. That's the best, that's the only game in town. Uh, it's the only game in town. And, you know, the, it's, you know, yeah, it's like, man, there's no, it's like, just, well, just like what you said, it's not,
does that question stop though? That question
yeah,
stops. Is this the question? That
yeah.
question stops.
Yeah, it
Who
just
am I?
becomes, yeah, because it's the who in question asking the am I part that gets seen through. You know what? Like for me, it's like the mind is like a, like for me, it's like I was so OCD diligent and about the inquiry all by myself with everything taken off the table for a while. Um, it's like it's like standing too close to the magician in the backyard party of the kid, you know? Like there's a certain place where you can stand in front of the close-up magician where you go, Jesus fuck, where'd the coin go? And how'd that, but if you go over his right shoulder, and if the magician is the mind and you go over the right shoulder of the mind where the mind doesn't want you to have that vantage because it's unfair, but when you start looking at the mind pull off that trick, you go, oh dude, I just saw you put that in your, you see, and you see the trick of how the mind creates the false sense of a Frank or a Michael. You see the trick in real time. And once you've seen the trick, even if you go around to the front where all the kids are watching again, God damn it, it looks like that card. You still see the trick still works, but not exactly anymore because you've been over the magician's right shoulder and you've seen how that works. So you kind of, the snake is not the rope can't be a snake again. It just can't be because it's seen through. It's not that, it doesn't go away. Oh, the mind stops and no more thought. We have 90,000 thoughts a day. That was an Australian study I read somewhere. 90,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are repetitive and most of them are negative. If the only thing I had to do today was get up, work out, call my daughter, arrive at Frank at 4 or 3, that's like 5 thoughts. What were the other 85, 95? Like what are they about? What are they doing here? And what they're doing is insinuating the thinker of them, the author of them, the one to whom they all apply and are all about. But
Yeah.
I feel like the last 7 years is about standing right behind the magician going, God, still looks like you do that French drop with that coin and it sure looks like that coin disappears, but I know I see you, house builder. It was a little bit like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
An experience is like the one we've been describing here. That's like you've gone right backstage. It's like you're at the freaking David Copperfield show and you're backstage at the David Copperfield show. Now you're still going to end up in the front of the house as you have, going like, "Fucking that was David. That was like holy fuck," and I saw exactly. But you know, do you need to go back to see one more show? Do you need to see David Blaine now, or like I,
Yeah.
I, I think that once that infinity that you've talked about, the real-time etch-a-sketch refresh rate of no walls to this, no edges to this envelope starts to get seen through, seen, it's like the gig is up, you know?